everyone, and welcome to Travel Massive Live. My name is Maria, and I am very excited today because this is our first Responsible Tourism webinar. We do have 3 very interesting projects to tell you about. We have 4 very interesting speakers that are going to present those projects. So anytime you have any questions or you have any feedback, please, you can use the chat box to ask your question or whatever you want to share with us. Let me just quickly introduce the speakers today. We have Tina and Maja joining us from Slovenia, and they're going to introduce the Green Microphone Award. We have Meghan, who is going to tell us a little bit more about Impact Travel Alliance, which is a nonprofit and community aimed at teaching travelers how to spend their money mindfully. And then we have Marissa Altman, who is going to tell us a little bit more about wildlife conservation through the tourism industry. I will just remind you that this webinar is recorded, so anyone who is here will receive the recording afterwards. And so we can start. Tina and Maja, feel free to go whenever you're ready.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So thank you very much for joining us today. We are Tina Hudnik and Maja Campelj. We are both founders of G Guides and the Green Microphone Award. So just to tell you first, what's going on?
No.
It was working.
Yeah, okay. Should be fine.
So first of all, we would like to tell you just a little bit about G Guides, because this is a private research institute that was founded 10 years ago. And within G Guides, we're working on many different fields of responsible tourism. So one of the first things we are doing is that we actually offer consulting to different DMOs. And we also offer consulting to the different tour operators on how they would involve responsibility and sustainability in their everyday work. We are also quite active in academia with our research work, which is presented on many conferences, but also with contributions and articles that are written in scientific and non-scientific magazines about the sustainable development, about the sustainable development goals, and about the role of tourist guides in responsible and sustainable tourism. We also have an online school, which is called the G Guides Academy. And here we offer online training for tourist guides who want to be even more involved in the field of responsible and sustainable tourism. And of course, one of the last things is the Green Microphone Award, which we will tell you a little bit more about also later. Now, today the buzzword is sustainability. Everybody's talking about sustainability and everybody's trying to involve a lot of sustainability in their everyday work. But what is important, how this sustainability is being communicated to the actual tourists. So how are different tourism boards and tour operators and even the local suppliers, how are they presenting their great work that they're doing in sustainable tourism to the actual visitors, to the actual tourists? Where we see the missing link is with the tourist guides. One of the most important channels for communicating sustainability, we believe, are the guides themselves, because they're always in the contact with the visitors and they're also in contact with the different stakeholders in tourism, and they represent a great opportunity on communicating sustainability in the right way. And that is also the reason why we decided to kind of rebrand the term tourist guides. We don't call them guides anymore, but we call them cultural immersion facilitators. And we believe that there are many guides that are doing a great job at presenting the responsible and sustainable tourism. Many guides who are already doing a lot in regard to the sustainable development goals. They're involving them in their everyday line of work. And when we were walking around, we discovered that there are so many different tour operators, destinations, also different stakeholders in tourism. There is an award for everybody, but there is no award for tourist guides. There is no award for the guides who would be the voice of responsible tourism. And that is why 2 years ago, we came up with the idea of having an award dedicated specifically to the cultural immersion facilitators. And that is the Green Microphone Award. So what was the main goal? What do we want to achieve with the Green Microphone Award? A couple of things is definitely the fact that people are already using the local guides on the destinations, and some guides are creating amazing experiences in the destinations, and not just creating great experiences, but also contributing toward the development of the destination themselves and using the different sustainable development goals in their everyday work. So we want to give a chance that the voice of these tourist guides would be heard. And we also want to give the visitors, the tourists on the destinations, we want to give them a chance to reward guides who are doing a great job at what they're doing in the way that they can nominate them for the Green Microphone Award. Here we come to the criteria. Well, sustainability is all about the triple bottom line approach. Whoever is talking about sustainability today, they're always using three main pillars of sustainability. Always they're talking about the social cultural pillar, about the economic pillar, they're talking about the environmental pillar. But this is where we saw the missing link. We said one thing is missing. The missing link is how the sustainability is being communicated to the actual visitors. And this is where we added the fourth pillar. And this is also one of the main pillars for rewarding the tourist guides for the Green Microphone Award. So we have 4 different criteria, and the great tourist guides complementing all of these criteria to be eligible for the Green Microphone Award. So far, we are very honored and proud that our work has been recognized and presented on many tourism fairs around the world. We're talking about the WTM in London, we're talking about the ITB Berlin Travel Festival, where we basically talked about the contribution of tourist guides on the sustainable development goals and sustainable tourism. But we're also very proud that we had a chance to work with the European Commission in regard to the promotion of the profession, different professions that we find in tourism today and will be found also in the future. And well, just last year, we were also invited to the United Nations in Geneva, where we presented the work of G-Guides and the contribution towards the sustainable development to the United Nations. Now we come to the winners, to the past winners of the Green Microphone Award. As I mentioned, the award has been given now for 2 years in a row. And the first winner was Ivana Bole from Slovenia, who is really doing a great job in promoting sustainable tourism in Slovenia, but she's also an amazing experience creator. So she was our first winner of the Green Microphone Award. And just last year, the winner was Myo Min Zhao, who came from Myanmar. And he's also doing a great job in promoting his whole destination, not just, you know, not just working on the many projects that he has on his mind. And here, when we talk about the winners, I do want to point out that we have been giving out the award now for 2 years in a row. And so far, we've had quite a few amazing stories that we presented, guides who are doing an amazing job at promoting responsible and sustainable tourism in their destinations. They've came from 16 different countries, from 3 different continents, and we've had over 25 applications for the Green Microphone Award. So I can tell you that the job of choosing the winners was never easy. One more thing that we would like to point out is that something that we are also looking forward in the future. The fact is that the Green Microphone Award is an award that is also supporting the sustainable development. And that is why we make it possible for all the people from around the world to participate and be eligible for the award. Our conferences, our award is always held on the 27th of September. It's always held on the World Tourism Day, and it is totally online. So we have no carbon footprint for our conference. So really everybody can attend. For the future, we're also looking forward to include as many SDGs as possible in promotion of responsible tourism. So if you know any of the guys who would be eligible to win the Green Microphone Award, if you know anybody who would really like to hear from them, and you can surely send the nominations at responsibleguides@gmail.com. So one final thing I just want to point out, this is what we want to give you a heads up for the startups. It is very important to not just teach about sustainability, but also to communicate sustainability to the tourists and to the staff that is working for you, how they're going to communicate sustainability to the actual visitors in the right way. So thank you very much. That was from us, and looking forward for the next presentations.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Maya. You're doing a great job, so keep up the good work. If anyone from the live audience have any questions for the Green Microphone Award for Tina and Maya, please put them in the chat box on your right, and then we'll get back to them at the end of the presentations. Now we have Meghan, who is Head of PR of Impact Travel Alliance. Meghan is going to tell us more about the nonprofit organization and the different programs that they have. Hi, Meghan.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks everyone. So Kelly, Louise was supposed to be here. She sends her apologies. She's under the weather, so I'm filling in. So actually, we wanted to start by talking kind of about who we are more than what we do. So hopefully that's okay. We're gonna back up maybe a little bit. Maria, thank you for taking my slides. Can you just go ahead and switch to the next one? Thanks. So ITA is a global community of people who passionately believe that travel has the potential to affect many global issues. It can lift up local communities and economies. It can empower women and minorities. It can protect our environment and much more. So our definition of sustainable travel is it's travel that has a positive impact on a destination's environment, community, and economy. So a lot of the pillars that Tina and Maya were already talking about. Sustainable travel creates better experiences for both locals and travelers alike, and our vision means travel helps improve the world, not tear it down. So we can switch to the next slide. Maria, can you, oh, did it pause? Sorry.
1 second, I have some problem of changing slides, yeah.
Oop, there we go, okay, cool. And I probably could just talk through this one. So just the passport, there are a lot of travelers we know who are kind of out there just counting passport stamps and countries. We assure you that's not everyone, but we know it exists. The sustainable traveler is obviously the one seeking experiences and a connection to the wonders and the cultures around them. You've obviously also got the destinations and the travel businesses who are probably also just counting travelers, and their goal is to keep increasing that number because more people means more growth and more profit. But the sustainable travel movement means kind of taking that and giving it a quarter twist. It turns destination marketing into destination management, and it means travel operators are seeing more travelers choose a tour because of their values and because of the experience that immerses them in the destination while making that positive impact. So we can go to the next slide. So again, Maya and Tina touched on this. Sustainable tourism is about sustainability at the very base level of how a business is run. It means you're looking at the bottom line, which is a triple bottom line. So profit, yes, but also prioritizing people and planet. And the next slide, sorry. And so this one's a quick one too. So sustainable tourism is about making good business decisions. And it's also just good for your business. Studies show that sustainable travelers are willing to pay more for brand aligned experiences, and they're also more loyal. Okay, so the next one, yeah, thanks. In 2018, ITA, or Impact Travel Alliance, we published a thought leadership study that is a guide for all travel businesses, and it outlines the work to become more sustainable. It lays out a framework of 32 tactics to accomplish the much needed work to integrate sustainability into all types of travel. I encourage you to download it. I will share the link at the end, I promise. The report makes the case for sustainable travel better than I can do kind of in this short time. So no matter whether you're a big company or a small one, whether you're like a corporation or a scrappy startup, a niche operator or kind of a global entity, there are actionable ideas in this report to help you and your business become more sustainable. So again, I will share that link at the end. we'll get back into like actually what Impact Travel Alliance is. No, you were good on the next slide. So we are an independent 501c3 nonprofit. We're almost 5 years old, which is really exciting. It's been a fun journey. If you've been following us for a while, you might have seen that we took a bit of a turn last year and we became a consumer-facing organization. So in the past, we did a lot of work within the travel industry, but we really learned we could do more by educating and empowering travelers, teaching them how to spend their money mindfully so that their experiences empower locals and protect our environment. We also connect travel businesses and destinations to those travelers in a variety of ways. So we'll get to that too. On the next screen, we'll talk a little bit about our community. So these travelers are actually a global community. We have 20,000 members strong and continuing to grow. We describe them as curious explorers to discover an intimate side of their destinations and to connect with the world around them. There's more than 20 local chapters, and through those chapters, our global team in New York, we've held about 300 or more events since 2015, just when we launched. Those chapters include, they're held all over in cities like Melbourne, Seattle, Kathmandu, Washington, DC, Singapore, London, Jakarta, Accra. So it's really exciting to see what a global effort this is. And obviously from our call today, we're seeing how the world is kind of coming together around sustainable tourism. So on our next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about our 3 initiatives that keep us kind of sane. So we connect with our community both digitally and through in-person events. Our chapters is our first initiative, and that's, again, like I said, the one that's really in control of hosting our in-person events. They engage their local communities through educational events. They might be a panel discussion, a film screening, a workshop. We really ask them to be more than networking events. They're educational about sustainable travel. So a few times a year, we also coordinate a multi-chapter event, which means that several chapters around the world are all hosting an event on the same day under the same theme. Coming up in March, we'll have many chapters celebrating International Women's Day, and they'll all be focusing on how travel empowers women, or can empower women through different businesses and programs. Our second initiative is our media network, and we have an alliance of about 60 travel content creators and influencers that all have a focus on sustainability. These bloggers, photographers, videographers work together to cross-promote each other, and we're committed to promoting them as well. And this, better yet, we help brands connect with them for sponsored content and press trips, help share their messages. And then our third initiative is all about our online content. We create our own editorial and sponsored content on our website and in our newsletter. If you haven't been following our blog, I highly encourage you to check it out. We create a mix of thought pieces and news roundups and destination-centric content. I wrote a piece on the 2020 sustainability trends you should be watching. And every other week we put together the Weekender, which looks at the sustainable travel news and trends that you should be following. So in the next slide, I'm actually going to give you a couple of quick ways to jump into Impact Travel Alliance if you're interested. Again, I'm going to share all of these links, I promise, at the end. If you join our Facebook group for travel professionals, that's a great way to really kind of connect with people all over. 2, it's really easy to attend our chapter events if you live in a city where there's a chapter. If there isn't one, go ahead and launch a chapter in your city if you're interested. It's a great way to gain visibility as a leader in sustainability. 3, you can increase your exposure for your brand or destination by working with our media network. And 4, like I said, download that thought leadership study. If you go to the next slide, I'm just going to show you on our Travel Massive profile. If you kind of look in the About section in our profile, you'll see resources for professionals, and that's kind of right there at the bottom. You'll find all of the links right there, so you can click on those straight out of our profile and go directly to more information about everything I just talked about, including that thought leadership study. And then if you go to the next slide, my email is there, and you can always email me any questions that you have. And that's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Meghan. Now, if anyone has any questions for Meghan and for Impact Travel Alliance, please put them in the chat box and we'll get back to them at the end. Marissa, go for it. Introduce wildlife friendly.
Hi, everyone. All right, let me cue this up here. All right, can you see okay? Looks good. Okay, great. So my name is Marissa Altman. I'm the assistant to the executive director at the Wildlife Friendly Enterprise Network. So we approach tourism from the side of conservation and sustainable development. Just a little bit of background about me personally. I completed my master's research on the effects of wildlife-based tourism on wildlife conservation. I'm a member of the IUCN Tourism and Protected Areas Specialist Group and the Biodiversity Working Group. I also frequently contribute to World Tourism Organization publications and book chapters. I'm also a partner of the One Planet Network Consumer Information Program, which is one of the implementation methods for SDG 12 on sustainable consumption and production. So I just wanted to give that background. So we're approaching tourism from the conservation side. All right. So this is the mission statement of our organization. We are also a 501c3 nonprofit. We were founded in 2007. And essentially we envision a world where wildlife and businesses coexist and they thrive, and essentially where consumers, communities, and companies are catalysts for change and heroes for wildlife conservation. And we are a certification nonprofit. So these are some of our logos here at the bottom. And I was laughing during Meghan's presentation because, you know, the triple bottom line, people, planet, and profit is critical to the work that we do. We believe that they're not only compatible, but they're necessary for a sustainable world. These are just some of the places where we work. Each of these little icons represents not only key species that we're protecting, as well as the ecosystem and habitat in that space, but a story of coexistence between people and wildlife. So we not only certify tourism, but we certify other products and services as well, including specialty foods, personal care products, including essential oils. Now we have carbon credits that we've certified as wildlife friendly, and of course tourism. So a diversified approach to an economy is very important. You know, we know situations where sometimes the global economy changes. There might be travel bans for various reasons. And so that's why for us, it's very important to have a holistic approach, and tourism is one part of that. So we also have a definition that we've come up with for wildlife-friendly tourism, which is here: tourism that maximizes opportunities for travelers, communities, and businesses to not only engage as partners, but to advance on-the-ground conservation while minimizing negative impacts on wildlife. So we know that tourism has many negative impacts on wildlife, and that is problematic, especially in places where wildlife is key to what draws people to visit a place. So keeping that balance is really what our work is all about. Okay, so this is just one example of an enterprise that we've certified for tourism. It's located in Kenya, and I don't want to go into too much detail. I encourage you to Google them, check them out. But they're actually part of a more holistic program as well. So we've certified them not only for tourism, there are 2 lodges and an environmental education center, but they have a carbon neutral eco clothing factory, a handicrafts project, and we've certified them for carbon credits. There are also some agricultural projects there as well. So this is actually one of our founding network members. And then this is an example of a community-based tourism project located in Palau in the Philippines. And it's a community-based organization, and they are protecting this site and the forest surrounding it from illegal poaching, illegal logging. They're reforesting the mangrove habitat, which is very important. And they're engaging tourists in that work and providing a really rich environmental education experience. So they are another great example. So in addition to our core wildlife friendly tourism program, we also have species specific tourism programs, one of which is gorilla friendly tourism, which is a partnership with the International Gorilla Conservation Program, which is a coalition of a group of other organizations. This project has been in the works for almost 10 years, but we're actually rolling it out, doing the first audits of parks in 2020. So we're really excited about that. We've got some amazing consultants on board. This is a very large project. It covers all of the mountain gorilla parks and communities in the 3 range states, which are Rwanda, Uganda, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So keep your eyes peeled, because this is a really, really exciting initiative, and we're really excited to move forward. Another species specific tourism program that we have is Sea Turtle Friendly. This has been one of my biggest focuses at Wildlife Friendly, and we piloted this program in the Philippines, and we actually have a press release coming out on February 19th, because we've awarded the first Sea Turtle Friendly certification to a network of 4 resorts and 1 tourism kind of like complex in the Philippines. And then we're launching this program globally this year. So we're really, really excited to see this roll out as well. The standards for both gorilla friendly and sea turtle friendly tourism they're very, very rigorous. They cover pretty much everything a business needs to do to minimize their impact and maximize their contributions to the conservation of these species. So a couple ways for you to get engaged. One is to get certified yourself. So if wildlife tourism is an area specifically that you are working in, if you're working in partnership with a conservation group, if you're working to reduce threats, if you're meeting all of these things listed on this slide, you might be a good candidate for certification. You can find out more information about that on our website, and you can of course contact me. My email address is here, so that's definitely one option. And another option is that we have a corporate network membership program. So this is for companies and businesses that maybe aren't tour operators themselves, but are interested in maximizing their engagement with wildlife conservation and their contributions to protecting wildlife. So it's kind of like a more corporate level advising, but we also work with NGO partners too. And you're able to use our logo for network membership. We work on press releases, and it's a mentoring sort of approach. And so this is really the end of my presentation. Follow us on social media. If you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to me. We work in this very specific area, but we do it pretty well. So, and I see there's some questions. So I know there's some questions for other people as well. So I'll stop.
Thank you, Marissa. Thank you for telling us more about your project. We do have some questions in the chat box. So let's go first with Tina and Maja. Valentina is asking to travelers who don't really attend the events that you attend and present the Green Microphone Awards to, how would they know about nominating their guides they had a wonderful, sustainable experience with? So how do you spread the word about Green Microphone Awards?
Yes, thank you very much. That's an excellent question. Thank you, Valentina. That's actually also our main challenge, I would say, how to get the word out, especially to the travelers, to the visitors. Because for the guides, we are somehow building the partnerships with Guides Association and things like this. But for the visitors, it's actually very hard, because at the moment, there's everything what has the label of certification. Somehow, visitors are suspicious, but also they don't really have the access, but because it's overloaded with information. So if you have any ideas, please do let us know. But for the moment, we are trying to build partnerships with NGOs or with interesting initiatives, with people, with travel agents, with tour operators, whoever is in the business, in the contact with visitors. We try to get the word out through these channels, and then they try to communicate this. But as you all know, it takes 20 years for overnight success. So we need time. We have Green Microphone only for 2 years. So we still need some more time to get more recognition.
Awesome. I hope the community here can help you spread the word about
Yes.
your initiative. We have a question from Meghan. What was the reason for your decision to become consumer focused?
Yeah. That is a good question. So there's probably a couple of factors. And one is we're an unfunded volunteer-run nonprofit. So we have to kind of keep our focus and really kind of stick to what we can do and stay in our lane. We also kind of felt really that sometimes we were talking, I guess in general, in the responsible, sustainable travel world, you can kind of talk in an echo chamber of a lot of the same people talking about some same ideas. And we felt kind of grassroots movements from the people have really been like super powerful in really making change. So we wanted to kind of invest our efforts that way of really kind of making that kind of groundswell of movement from the public. And I feel like we've kind of been seeing that. We always joke that the plastic straw is like the gateway drug for people getting on board with sustainability, right? As everyone ditches their plastic straws, like that's just the beginning. And if we can really just continue to educate travelers, we think that, you know, that movement will really continue and force that change from within the industry.
Awesome. We have another question for you. What is your stance on wild animal petting, such as captive tiger cubs? And where should we draw the line with animal interaction at zoos and sanctuaries?
Yeah, well, I feel like also Marissa can probably address this, but for ITA, we really, we say that, you know, there are a lot of situations where you're being kind of put in contact with wildlife. If it's not a natural setting, if it seems like the animals are kind of being put on display for your entertainment, then that's probably not a sustainable way to be interacting with them. But I'll let Marissa speak. She's obviously the expert on that.
Yes, we have a few questions for Marissa as well. Do you want to start with that one?
Sure. So absolutely. We certainly feel that animals that are kept in captivity, or if their behavior is modified, like if they're being fed, really if their environment or behavior is changed for the purposes of tourism, that is inappropriate. At the same time, we do recognize that zoos do contribute to wildlife conservation in their own right. That's not something that we are directly engaged with. We don't certify zoos, and we don't certify sanctuaries as well. It's a, you know, I think generally never touch a wild animal, never feed a wild animal. You know, always look out for situations where there are animals held in captivity. There's been a lot of discussion lately about things like that, you know, elephant riding, which is a custom that's been in place for like hundreds and hundreds, if not over 1,000 years. So it's a complicated question, and that's why we approach it, you know, on a case-by-case basis. With gorillas, that's a great example. So that program, it actually has a gorilla-friendly pledge that visitors can take, and the website is currently under renovation. It's going to launch soon again. It's gorillafriendly.org. But with things like gorillas, it's like wearing masks and being vaccinated and not visiting when you're sick is very important, because what could be just a common cold for us can wipe out an entire troop of gorillas. So it's very dependent on the situation, and that's why the certification is valuable, because it gives that logo and that branding that consumers know what is okay and what's not. And I'm always happy to discuss this further if anyone has any questions about that.
Thank you for the great advice. We do have a few more questions for you from Samia. What is the condition of wildlife conservation in Western Europe and, for example, France?
I just wanted to make sure I don't want to. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, Marissa, you can go ahead.
Okay, sure. So, you know, there are really wildlife conservation threats happening all over the world. In Western Europe, some of the things that we have our eyes on are the loss of habitat for pollinators and also bird species. We just actually, and we just certified a new enterprise in Scotland working on pollinators. In France and Italy, people are still, it's more like an issue with agriculture and development, like loss of habitat and, people still killing wolves to protect their livestock. So those are normally the areas where we are working in Western Europe. But every type of business has impacts on wildlife. So it really depends on the situation. I hope that answered that question. I can keep reading down because I can see that.
Yes,
Okay,
go
is that
ahead.
easier? Sure. So Samia, I think that my previous answer probably also answered like recommendations where not to go. I think just looking for, people touching, feeding wildlife and animals in captivity, those are just warning signs in general that I would put out there. But again, it's a big conversation, so happy to talk about that. And livelihoods are a big piece of what we do because obviously the community needs to be thriving in order to protect their wildlife resources. So we consider, the engagement and contributions and benefits to local people just as much as the benefits to wildlife. And then certification for travel agents. We do have a travel agent program under the Gorilla Friendly program. We have not yet had any direct interest from travel agents specifically for our core program, but it's absolutely something we could talk about. I think it would be great to have travel agents that are educating consumers more and helping guide them in that direction. So yeah, I think that's everything.
We do have one last question for everyone. Are there any books or documentaries, films you'd recommend that touches on responsible tourism issues or can provide a helpful context for us to learn and think more about these issues? So is there something that you can recommend in that sense? If someone is ready, go ahead and go first.
I'll go first. So a great book is Sustainable Tourism on a Finite Planet, Environmental, Business, and Policy Solutions. That book is by Meghan Wood, who is one of the founders of ecotourism. This book came out just a couple years ago. So I would definitely recommend that for a broad overview.
Awesome.
I have one more. There's a book by Jeremy Smith, and it's called Transforming Travel. I think it came out just last year, maybe the year before, but that's definitely a good one. I'll see if I can put a link in the chat too.
Thank you. Tina and Maya, do you have any recommendations for any books or movies?
Oh, there's plenty and more being written. Meghan just mentioned the one from Jeremy Smith. I would definitely recommend that one. But also go and visit. There's Earth Changers webpage, and there you also have the recommendations about the books, about the movies, and everything. So you can also you can see some suggestions there as well. I see Vicky now is online. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you all. We are going to wrap up this webinar. Thanks to all of our speakers for sharing a little bit more about their projects. We will send this recording, we will send all the links that were mentioned and the book recommendations as well to everyone who is attending the webinar and who has been registered. You can get in touch with our speakers via Travel Massive. And really, thank you again for taking part of the very first Responsible Tourism webinar. We hope to keep doing that and inspire more people to do more responsible tourism. Thank you all. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.